Okay, well, hi, good morning, everyone that's watching. My name is Dante Tulla. I'm born Jamaican, now Canadian. Um, I am a trans individual. I do identify as trans every single where that I go, even with my passing privileges. Why I do this is to make it known that we do exist. It doesn't matter how we look, shape, sound, or anything. Trans people do exist. So, with me being one of those privileged trans male who pass very well, it I take it upon myself to bring awareness in my surrounding that hey, I'm here and it's okay for me to be here. And yes, so that's how I show up in spaces as myself, as my authentic self, and only as self. This isn't very easy to do all the time because of transphobia, of course. Um, Transphobia is real. It does exist. When any person of the trans experience has the experience of discrimination or violence, it impacts our mental health in ways people will not understand. Um, these are ways of like fear. We get to a place where we fear showing up as ourselves. So we have a choice of do we show up or do we continue to hide ourselves out of fear of not being understood, out of fear of failing violence or discrimination. This also happens within the workplace, which is here in Canada, which is another appalling scene that I've experienced time and time again. Um, with me placing myself into work environments, um, I am perceived as how I'm seen as a cis male, which I am not. Um, but I do have the experience of the cis male experience where people would meet me, but they don't know that I'm trans. And there is a privilege there, but at the same time, it's just like it's a it's a good privilege, but it's a sad privilege as you see yourself getting along with people because they don't know the real you or the your identity or your gender. They don't know of it. When it does come up, you see a change. The way you're socialized with has changed. The way you are addressed is changed, and your entire environment is changed within the workplace or just anywhere where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not a cis male. I'm trans, and that's how it is. Does anyone have any questions, or should I keep talking about my experiences? I don't know.
Thank you, Dante. I see we have Gloria on here. Thank you, Gloria, for like jumping in. This is wonderful. Um, yeah, I wonder if Gloria had anything to add at this point. If not, perhaps Dante, you can continue on. So we'll just leave some space for that.
Anything from you, Gloria?
Mm, Oops. Hi. Hi, Dante. Hi, Dara.
Hello.
Yeah, maybe from my end, you could talk a little bit on some of the challenges and gaps that you've experienced, and how you were able to just overcome the challenges.
Some of the challenges that I face, and the gaps in social circles. Um, One of my biggest challenges was showing up, just just showing up as my authentic self. Um, it was it was very challenging because, or some days it still is very challenging because I know how I am perceived as a passing trans male. Um, with that being said, with every person who sees me as a passing or a cis male, um, it brings me back to like, okay, do I allow them to keep the image of who they think I am, or do I distort that image and give them my truth? So with that question, I always have to be careful because of discrimination. Um, Depending on the environment, I could be faced with violence or anything of the sort. But at the end of the day, as I said, I feel like I took on the duty to make it known that we are in the room. So over the years of my transition, and I believe I started in 2016 with my medical transition, so it has been quite some time since I've been on this journey. My family and their transphobia prepared me for the public. Um, with what I experienced from them, it was just like for them, they found it important to either live a reality where I don't exist. So it's just like me changing from one gender to the next. Changing to that gender means I, as a person, no longer exist. So that's the form of transphobia I experienced within my family, um, immediate bloodline family, and it was not easy, but it did prepare me for the outside world. And I go through my day as who I am, for reasons as the world should know that we're here. So yeah, my I think one of the biggest challenges is just to push through the fear and stay within my most authentic self of saying, hey, I'm trans, and make it okay, regardless of what they might reply to me with, how the body language might change. Um, that's usually the biggest challenge because with the immediate change, it also could change your mood. If this is an individual who has mental health issues, they could like just get sad immediately, even though they might have been having a wonderful day until they like, oh, I'm trans, and their surrounding just decided like, oh, we don't understand you, so we're going to act as if you are not accepting in this space. So then there's the other challenge is like, do I stay in this space or do I remove myself? Usually I do stay in the space to like let them know like, hey, I'm here and I'm not leaving, and it doesn't matter how you are or the way you are to me. I'm going to remain as who I am and be happy about it. So yes, I believe that's one of the biggest challenges, moving through fear.
That's Thank you so much, Dante, for that. We do have a couple questions in the chat. Before I address those, I would like to welcome Isha of RaricaNOW, who is here, who has joined us. So, welcome, Isha. Thank you so much. And to the questions in the chat, there is one from Donna that says, "Can you speak more about cisnormativity?" And I guess we can open that up to both Dante, Gloria, or Dante, Gloria, and Isha. So, yeah.
Cisnormic activity. Um, as in the things that I do. Could you elaborate on that question, please?
Absolutely. We can just have Donna did ask the question. So, Donna, if you want to put some more information in the chat about that, maybe we can kind of like come back to that. And we can move, I guess, from now. There is another question from Ali that says, "I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of your experience within frontline agencies, either working in them or accessing supports, maybe like where they can do better."
Oh, frontline agencies. I don't think they're at a place where they want to do better. Um, um in the okay, let me speak of this experience. This was years ago. I believe in the beginning of my transitioning, I was a laborer at the time. I entered the workspace as myself, letting my name be known and who I am be known. And then months after, people started, I don't know, finding out or hearing or making an assumption that, hey, this person is the other gender, or this person is a female. Let me just call it as they say it. So it created a confusion within my workplace. And there are a few people who started coming to me asking me, how would I like to be addressed, even though this was known from the beginning that my pronouns are he, him. But they still came to me saying, like, hey, I heard this about you. Like, is this true? Like, are you this or that? And it was very appalling. So it got to a point where it became very, very, very overwhelming because everyone was coming to me at that point, and I just didn't know how to be. So I went to management. With going to management, I told them, I'm like, hey, this is who I am. These are my pronouns. The entire workplace is wanting to know, and I do not know how to address this. I was met with a reply of, what do you want me to do? Keep a whole meeting and tell the entire factory that you're trans? And I was like, oh, I see where this is going. So I left it alone. Nothing came out of that except for I returned to work the next day being addressed as the opposite gender. And nothing was done by it. And it completely ruined my mental health, which led me to taking time off work. Now, how do I navigate this with taking time off work? I usually do my best to find jobs that has benefits, accommodate benefits, and accommodate mental health, sickness leaves, and stuff like that. Because, in all honesty, the workplace is just not going to do it until they choose to have an understanding towards it. Um, Another example at the hospital, and you think this is a place that would have the biggest understanding where they're filled with doctors and nurses. That is not the case. On my surgery of 2018, I did my top surgery at the Red Deer Hospital. I came home back to Edmonton and I had a blockage in my tube. It was a very simple procedure to get done because I Googled it before I went into the university hospital here in Edmonton. Upon going into the emergency room, they took me in because, of course, they thought I was male, cisgendered. And I told them like, hey, I just like had surgery and I'm having this blockage in my tube that I need.
Wonder if this is frozen for anyone else. Okay. Okay. Um, we will get in touch with Dante just to let him know to reload his refresh his browser. Perhaps that would help. And I will take this opportunity just to introduce Adebayo, who has joined us today, and will also be supporting this panel. So thank you, Adebayo, for coming on here and supporting us today here. I wonder if kind of while that loads, we did have a question about like cis normativity, and I wonder if that is something that we can maybe like throw back into to our speakers here. So the question is, can you speak more to cis normativity? Okay, Dante's back here, so we wouldn't want to cut him off. Let's kind of okay. Dante, do we have you back with us?
Yes. I I I was supposed to plug my laptop in, and for some reason I kept holding the cord and talking. And yeah, my bad. So now I'm on my phone. My apologies.
No worries.
Yeah. Um okay, I kind of missed maybe a minute or two. My apologies again. Am I supposed to continue or what?
You can continue if you have any additional information to give. Otherwise, we can go back to the to another question that we had. So up to you.
No, we'll do the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So circling back, the question that we had was speaking more to cis normativity, and in terms of like expanding on that, we have like what does it mean? So what does cis normativity mean? And like how does it relate to you? So I suppose we can throw that out to all our speakers here, and whoever wants to take it can pick it up.
Just a second.
We do have some other questions, so if we wanted to move and then maybe circle back, give us some more time, that could work. I wonder, Gloria de Rayo.
Um, I'm gonna attempt to answer this question. As I pass in, I keep doing this because I don't think I do anything that's just normal. Like I'm a trans person, but the people outside of me sees a cisgender person possibly. Um, but I don't think I do anything like the cisgendered type because that's just not me. That's not my identity. Um, a, a trans person, they're for me. I believe there are two things that makes a trans individual. Um, one is their identity, and the other is how they navigate the world, how they go through their daily life, navigating the world. Um, I denounce cis-normal activities in my life for my own identity's sake. I do not want to be like the cis male at all. That was not my reason for transitioning, and if that's what society thinks, this is why they don't understand it. I transitioned for my own self. um I did it so I would be able to see myself and to hear myself. um People outside of me thinks I want to be male. uh, no, it um it comes with a there's a lot of pros and cons to that part too, as cis black males go through a lot, and I'm not really trying to take on that because I'm already a trans black guy, which we are going through a lot more. um there are certain roles that you have to adapt to, um as a trans male, which I think is like, why do I need to adapt to this role? Because society tells me that because you're trans, you should be male. Like, I never understood it. So cis normativities, cis normal activities, I this is why I don't understand it, because I don't do it. um the people around me are at fault for not choosing to understand. Um, so I don't do anything. It's great to sometimes to pass with my privileges, but there are other times when it's just not great. For example, when I do go around other trans people who have no idea that I'm trans, they see a cis male and they're like, "What? Why is this guy here? Like, what is he doing? Like, this is a trans space," and then I have to be like, "Oh, I'm I have the same experience as you," and they greet me with a, "Oh my God, you pass so well," and all ends into here. Like, okay, there we go again. So that's the best way I could answer that question. I don't engage myself in. I don't see myself engaging in cis normal activities because I am a trans person and I am trans first.
Um, yeah, maybe to just add on what Dante has said, my understanding of cis normativity is just the way society and even the different institutions like over prioritize the cis over the trans community, and that has led to like lack of resources for the trans community because the cis are given priority, and you find even that the trans community are not represented because a lot of attention is given to the cis gender, leaving out the trans community, not acknowledging that they exist. Yeah, so for me, I feel like over prioritizing of the cisgender community over the transgender community. That's the cis normativity.
Oh, it well, it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
They do get priority. Um, and um, no, I think I understand the question better. Um, with me, with the privilege, there are some priorities that I do get in life, but I still let it be known that I'm trans. Just know, I will always let the room know that I'm trans. It's just normal for me, and I think it's good for the young trans folks out there, that hey, it's okay to say you're here without any fear whatsoever of how they might react to you, because how they are reacting to you has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their understanding of your journey. So if they react in an arrogant way, just laugh. it was going to really upset them that you're laughing at their arrogance towards you. But don't give your mental health to them, because the moment you get sad because someone said something discriminating to you because they don't understand, they win. And they've been winning with their words, just their words, for a very, very long time, while trans people out here are doing so many amazing things, and it goes unnoticed because people are able to use their words to make us feel less. And once we feel less, we don't want to show up. And the moment you get us not to show up, you win. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Everybody, I see you unmuted, so take it away.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sorry for joining in a bit late. My, I'll say, approach to that is the assumption that all that there is, all that is the norm is, cisgender, or what society has deemed, worthy of living, worthy of accessing resources, or what they know is cis normative. My understanding to that is people make assumptions, just like Dante said, people make assumptions based on what they see, and also the fact that trans communities have always been, excluded in different spaces uh, um, by cis people because we don't fit the norm. Then I did share about the hospital. I can share about my experience, my family, my brother, simple experience that I experienced during my top surgery. Well, for my top surgery, I was lucky I had people who helped. He was there, and I had some other folks who really helped. So I wasn't by myself. But the process of me getting my top surgery, I had my brother who is a pastor. I think also talking about how religion has influenced the norm of who a man should be and a woman should be, and what a man should be doing and what a woman should be doing. I had my brother who called me and he's like, we haven't talked for like the past years. And he calls me and he's like, well, I heard you're going to go, have surgery, do what, for the Europeans have recruited you to go cut your, unwanted chest fats, you know. It's not okay. God doesn't allow it. You should not do it. It is ungodly. This was a night before my surgery, before my top surgery. I was already in tune, so I, yeah, I was already in tune, so I responded to him and I told him, you know what, brother? Yes, I hear you. And you know what I'm gonna do after the doctors cut them off? I'll pack them and send them to you as a Christmas gift, you know. So, well, he never, talked to me ever again, till today. We do not talk, but I mourn that relationship we had when I was growing up and how it did impact my, me, because he was my older brother. But, once I can't be in a space which is, you know, eh, compromise my identity or who I am, you know. Yes, so the norm. back home, people think Europeans are recruiting us and paying us money to be who we are. And I'm looking for that European to give me some money, to be who I am.
I think I want some too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for all the thoughts. We do have another question. It says, I have an almost 16-year-old trans son, 1 year on testosterone. At his work, he has always been able to walk his authentic self, working with kids in the arts, and he's open to share with the kids if and when they ask. But he's going to get his license and needs to use his dead name and gender for all documentation. I know this is very challenging for him. Any thoughts on how he can soften this experience until he can become in documents who he is in life?
You wanna go first, Dante?
Um, to soften this and go through life on the documentation of him having to use the name he no longer goes by. What did I do? I think I outrightly just told people like, hey, this is my name, this is what you call me. If I'm addressed as another name, it's just like it's not me you're talking to. So but as it has to do with the paperwork, that is very difficult. They could do you have to put your entire name on the paper? That is a Let me think about that. You have to put your name on the entire paper, right? Yeah, wherever they might be going, it's better for them to just keep repeating their preferred name. So, for example, you hand your ID with your dead name on it to some receptionist. At that time, be like, my preferred name is this, and the work is being done to get it changed. So that's one way you could do it, like just to be open and very intentional, like this is the name that I go by, even though this is what you're seeing now. It's just to be very, very intentional. Like um he's gonna have to like create some more skin surrounding that, because people are going to be very arrogant. It's like, okay, no, but this is your government name, so this is what I'm gonna use. Because I've had that experience at my own doctor's office where one of my doctors just refused to use my actual name, which caused an issue. So it's just something where he has to be very, very intentional about. We're just saying, hey, you might see this name, but I go by this name. And you just have to keep putting that in their head until it's just like, yeah, this person is annoying. Might as well I just use this name. But it just has to be something that's very intentional until they're able to get the paperwork done to get their actual name changed on paper. Yeah.
Yeah, I will just add on that and ask their parents, friends to be, frontline allies for them. What pronouns do they go with? I just assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes. And that is wrong, by the way. Please don't assume people's pronouns. Ask folks their pronouns. So yes, so he yeah, so the parent to be working ally and advocate. Yes, there are change names also, like change name process. It might take long, but going in there with them and before you speak for them, ask them if, hey, are you okay if I, speak for you, or if I respond on your behalf, is that okay? Does that make you, feel more safe to do? Because it can be really challenging. I remember dead naming me. Even when I saw it on the paper, I lost it. I lost it. I was not that person is dead. You get what I'm saying? Long time. And that being said, right, I don't even want to hear that name. Like, I've had people personally, who have long time friends who knew me as that my dead name was Fiona, who knew me as Fiona, so they were texting me. I'm like, do you see any Fiona here? You get what I'm saying? No, 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 no here. You get what I'm saying? So and then they take it sometimes offensive, which is their internalized biases, so that being said, please be 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 walking advocate, be an advocate for your trans kid. They need you more than anything, like right this time, especially when they're navigating the system about changing their names, their pronouns, their gender affirming care. That is gender affirming care, by the way. Name changing is gender affirming care. And I'm pretty sure if licensed registrar, I'm pretty sure they're equipped, to deal with trans folks. And this is where I might not have the capacity to call them out, especially being a trans individual who's in that specific situation. But you who is with me, normally I took people with me. You who is with me, can see sometimes where my eyes can't see. So being that ally, I'll just invite you to consistently be your first ally, your first safety, your first trans brave space, your first trans safe space.
Home has to be the first safe space. Yes.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you, both. I wonder, Gloria, I'm just going to give you some space. Do you have anything to add to this conversation now?
I think Adebayo and Dante have said it all. Like, just encouraging family to be there to support, because it's not a journey that you'd like to walk alone, or your family to leave you out. Like, family should be there, and like have an open mind to want to learn, like we heard from our speakers in the morning. Like, have those uncomfortable conversations, be willing to learn, be willing to grow. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gloria. Okay, I see Isha's struggling with the tech to connect here. So hopefully Aisha, perfect. So hopefully that works well. We do have some questions in the chat just here, so I wonder if we can just look at those. So there is a question that says, do you find that organizations or people want to separate you being trans from your support needs instead of like supporting the whole human? I wonder also, I kind of in addition to that, Dante, there's been a lot of comments about wanting to hear your experience at the hospital. So if this is something that you're comfortable with, please elaborate, and then we can kind of pass the mic to Gloria and Adebayo.
Okay, so experience at the hospital or what?
Well, there is a question that says, do you find that people want to separate you being trans from your support needs instead of supporting the whole human? And I'm kind of just tagging on a little bit to that because there's a lot of comments about your hospital experience. So I wonder if there's a way those can collide there, or you can just share your thoughts.
There is people would like to, because they just don't understand. They they hear the word transgender, and I don't know what happens to their mind, but whatever is happening, just slow it down. All they need to do is listen. Um, but yeah, I do find that people would like to separate me being trans and treating me as a human um differently. I could go back to family, but let me not go back to family. Hospital. Let's go back to the hospital. So, as I said, left Red Deer with my top surgery, got back to Edmonton, and I went to the University of Alberta, U of A. It's words. I went to U of A, I don't know, maybe 12 midnight, 2 days after my surgery because of a blocked tube. That was all they need to do is get some water in a syringe and flush the tube. Because I researched it. Anyways, arriving at the hospital, they took me in. I got a room. I sat down, and the nurse came to me and she's like, "What's going on?" So I'm like, "Oh, I just had surgery, and I think I'm having a hematomia or a blocked tube or something, and I just need it looked at and flushed because I'm panicking." I also have very high anxiety, so I was like really panicking because I didn't want to have any of those things because I'm taking care of myself at that time. Um, the nurse came, she looked, I had a jacket on and she opened it and saw that my chest was like wrapped. She automatically assumed like, oh, did I have like some kind of weight loss surgery or did I have kind of like gyno? Like off the bat, she thought I was a cis man. I'm like, no, I just cut my oopa loops off and I'm trans. So she took her hands off me and she backed up. She's like, okay. And she left the room. There was someone else with me too. I remember this nurse leaving the room and coming back with the next individual. And I was just like, what's going on? So these two people, female and the guy now, looking at this new specimen, um, they unwrapped my entire gauze off my chest that was placed on me in Red Deer. And upon seeing what's underneath it, like as I said, I went in to get my tube flushed because it was blocked. They looked at me and they're like, "We can't help you." After taking everything off, like unraveling everything that the doctor put there to keep bacteria out and stuff, they literally looked at me and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, we can't do this procedure at this hospital and we can't help you." And they merely just put a tape over me and sent me on my way here in Canada, Alberta. Um, it sucked. It really sucked because that day I had to get up and drive back to Red Deer by myself. I just had surgery. I had no support at the time. I had to drive back to Red Deer in pain from Edmonton to go see the doctor who performed the surgery on me for them to just get a syringe with water and flush a tube. So with that experience, if I was a cis man, I would have been helped. If I had kept my mouth shut and tell the lie that they wanted to hear that I did weight loss surgery, I would have been helped. But because I spoke my truth, I was not helped. I was sent away in pain to go seek help elsewhere. So yes, I do find that society would like to strip me of my trans experience so they're able to treat me as a human, but they don't see that the trans person is human. So something is wrong with their mind because you cannot be looking at a human and not treat them as a human, regardless of their identity and their life choices that is completely different from yours. So I hope I answered that question correctly or well. But that's my experience with the hospital, and speaking my truth. And I just have to be very tough. Like it comes down to a point where it's just like, am I gonna allow this to affect me? Because what they're doing is they're giving you the worst treatment so you could go back to who you were, because that's pleasing to them. But they don't know who you were wouldn't have survived. So automatically they're looking at the trans person saying, I would much rather you dead. Why did you have to change and save yourself? That's basically what you're telling a trans individual when you are not accepting them as a human being while they're speaking their truth. Hmm.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that for sharing. Yeah, Adebaya, looks like you're gearing
Yeah.
up.
Can you repeat that question again one more time?
Absolutely. So we're currently talking, and again, welcome Aisha. We're currently answering the question: do you find that organizations or people want to separate your transism, if that's a word, if not you being trans, from your support needs? So instead of supporting the whole humans.
Yeah, there is the wanted, the liked Adebayo, and the other one who's not liked, who they call chaotic and disruptive. So people choose who they associate with, you know. When it comes to my trans identity, you know, I would, of course, like folks to treat me as, you know, as a whole, as um, a human, just like Dante shared. But also, I would people, you know, to know that I'm not talking about my trans identity. You know, I'm a musician. You know, I have families. I have brothers that I love. You know, I'm also a life coach. You know, I'm an artist, right? So beside my transness, I am all these other things too, you know? And in these other things, I can't separate those. I might now show up as a just a trans. Tomorrow I'll show up as a musician. My musician doesn't have the trans Adebayo musician. Katiti, right? It's just Katiti, you know. But does that exclude my identity? No. My identity is who I am, right? So I show up in spaces authentically as who I am. And that does make people uncomfortable because they're not used to that, you know, person, you know, or they want me to show up how they want, how comfortable it is for them. You know, I can give you an example. If it is rallies or protests that I've organized in the past, right? Some people dissociate naturally with protests, right? And have their internalized biases of, oh, those are disruptors. You know what I'm saying? They are on the other wing of the world. No, we are in the same world. There is no other wing, right? So the thing is, some might want more to associate with my trans identity because perhaps that is proximity to what they can deal with, and separate my blackness from my transness because they can't deal with my blackness, or they can't deal with that radical me or the rebel me sometimes. You get what I'm saying? So like, but that's whole of me. So I guess that happens, but it's still internalized transphobia to me and organized transphobia. When I say organized transphobia, organizations, our families, community members rally against trans people, release bills, release, you know, policies that, you know, that are against the trans existence. So that is organized transphobia. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Adibaya and Dante, for holding that. Um, Okay, we're gonna give it another try. Aisha, if you can hear us, okay, and would you mind like unmuting and maybe just like introducing yourself?
I should tap the screen button. It's share an audio. It's in the corner.
Yeah, you are on the screen now, so you can just actually unmute yourself, Aisha, and speak if you're able to. Okay, we've lost that connection. That's okay. We'll keep trying there. Okay, so just looking at the time, we still do have a little bit of time. Again, Gloria, I would leave this open to you if you want to make any comment.
Yeah, just going back to the last question that you asked, whereby organizations trying to separate the two, that has caused a lot of trans members or trans community being locked out on opportunities, and yet they have the same capabilities like everyone else, like I could give an example, working in in an organization that's supposed to LGBTIQ community. I've had an encounter whereby one of the members had enrolled in an institution, and just because they were trans, issues came out, and this individual had the passion, had the desire to do the course, but just because they were trans, other students started having transphobia. They were like, this individual is harmful. We cannot have the person in class, and the individual was kicked out. So a lot of times we find that because there's either lack of information or limited information, people want to separate the two. They want to work with what suits them. And so they end up denying opportunities to the trans community, and yet they carry a lot. They have so much. There's so much joy. There's so much to celebrate. When we show up, there's so much joy. Like our vibe is just up in the sky. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that organizations try to separate the two, which is not supposed to be the case. Yeah.
Just to add on that, many claim to be supporting trans people, supporting trans individuals, right? But they can't even deal with us when we show up. Bro, what I'm talking about, right? They can't,
I
right?
do.
So they do need to further educate themselves about trans identities. And also, I guess clearly for folks to know that there are trans non-binary folks, that the trans bodies are different bodies. So my way or my trans existence might differ from my brother Dante, might differ from my other brother, Z, or my other brother EC or Robbie, right? How like we are not like, every individual has their way of living their lives in their trans existence, right? So we differ, we're very different people. I insist on that, right? So learn from us the skills we have or the skills we bring in the spaces, you should be valued. People, I'm telling you, organizations do talk about working with trans individuals until we show up. And police is called, they can't deal with us. You get what I'm saying? They call people, hey, how do you deal with this situation? You get what I'm saying? We become case studies, we become statistics to them. So yeah. Okay. Calm down at it. All right. Woo! Yeah.
Yeah.
So let them educate themselves about all there is about trans folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously this is very passionate. So thank you for that vulnerability and just for sharing here. Speaking on like on the topic of educating ourselves, what can we say if we like misgender a trans person or use their dead name?
For me, remember the impact over the intent. Can say, oh, I didn't intend. It was non-intentional. Please remember how it impacts a trans individual, and apologize and move on. We are not static, right? I've personally, I'm not perfect. I've misgendered my community, right? I've misgendered my people, but I apologize. So you know what? I apologize. I'll do better next time. And if I do it again next time, I do the same. I imagine, I train myself, about pronouns, about, I ask people if I don't know their pronouns, I ask them what your pronouns, what name do you prefer? Would you like me to add? You see, we can have names listed, but when we have names we prefer, right? So I guess having that self-responsibility and awareness, about trans folks can be helpful, but also knowing that the impact over the intent, correct yourself and let's move on. Let's not stay there. Don't feel like, oh my God, I've just done something very wrong. Oh, what am I going to do? I don't want to. We make mistakes. In our mistakes, we learn. So, me, if you misgender me, collect yourself, collect all yourself, take responsibility and accountability, and let's move on. That's how I approach that.